The Bible doesn't
Something is
record this
different.
conversation. Not a word,
I
not a
see it.
syllable. No gospel writer preserved it. No church father reconstructed it. No ancient tradition describes it. In 2,000 years of commentary on the life of Mary, this moment, the moment she told her mother, has been almost entirely ignored. But it happened.
The truth has
It
always
had
been
to have
here,
happened.
between us.
Because you cannot live in a one-room
I
house
know.
with a woman who has known your body since
Keep
before
turning.
you could walk,
Don't stop.
who has washed you,
I know,
fed you,
I'm trying.
dressed you,
We
slept
must.
beside
We
you,
must have
worked
it.
beside you every day for over 2 decades, and hide a pregnancy. So at some point, somewhere in that small stone house in Nazareth, a daughter looked at her mother and said something. We don't know what. We don't know
Keep the
when.
rhythm, Anna.
We don't
I
know
am
if it
Mary.
was planned or
Just
if
a
it
little
slipped
further.
out, or if Anna figured it out before Mary could
The
speak.
wool needs
But
carding
it
before
happened.
evening.
And
Yes.
it may have been the hardest
And the water is
conversation
low.
Mary ever
It's
had.
enough.
Harder than saying
Oh.
yes to Gabriel, because
Are you well,
Gabriel
child?
left.
Yes.
Anna
yes.
didn't
Just
leave.
dizzy.
Anna was
The
right
heat.
there, 3 feet away, in the same room, watching. To understand why this conversation was inevitable, you need to feel the space. We've described this room before: the limestone walls, the packed earth floor, the low ceiling you could touch without straightening your arm. But in this video, the dimensions matter differently. They matter because they define the impossibility of secrecy. The floor area of a typical Nazareth
The
dwelling,
water
based on
is
the
cool
residential
today.
structure
Yes, it
excavated
feels
by
good.
Yardena Alexandri in 2009,
Be careful,
was
sister.
approximately 3 meters by 4 meters, 12 square meters. That's smaller than most modern bathrooms. And in that space, an entire family lived, worked, ate, and slept. The sleeping mats were placed side by side,
Try some
sometimes
bread, Mary.
overlapping at the edges. Mother and daughter slept within arm's reach,
I'm not
not
hungry tonight.
metaphorically,
Not again.
literally.
I recognize
Anna
this.
could reach out in
The
the night
spring,
and touch
the
Mary's
nausea,
shoulder without sitting
The
up.
bread.
Mary could hear her mother
Annunciation.
breathing,
Mary departs
shifting,
for Mary
dreaming.
returns 3 months later.
They
Did
shared
Anna
the
know before
same
Mary
body
left?
heat on
Did Anna
cold
discover
nights.
after Mary
During the
returned?
day,
I
the
have something to
proximity
tell you.
continued.
I'm
The
leaving.
grinding stone was
You
a
must follow
two-person
your heart,
operation,
Mary.
mother
I
and daughter
understand.
facing each other, knees nearly touching,
It's you,
working the heavy
my daughter.
basalt
You
in
are with
synchronized
child.
rhythm. The courtyard was perhaps 6 meters square, enclosed by stone walls with a single fig tree and a
I
taban
have something
oven.
to tell you before I go.
Every task was performed within a few
your belly.
steps of every other
You're
task.
pregnant.
In this architecture, the
pregnant.
body has no
Joseph.
secrets.
Joseph.
Morning sickness,
And it's not
the
yours.
nausea that typically begins
Not
around the
yours.
6th week of pregnancy and often peaks between weeks 8 and 12, would have been impossible to conceal. The retching, the dry heaves, the sudden aversion to certain smells, the olive oil heating in the pan, the smoke from the oven, the particular odor of lentil stew that hadn't bothered you before. A modern woman can close a bathroom door.
Mary.
Mary didn't
Mary.
have a bathroom.
Anna.
She didn't have a
Is
door.
it time?
She had a curtain across a doorway and a
Mother,
mother sleeping 18
I need to
inches
tell you
away.
something.
The
I've done
question was
something
never
terrible.
whether Anna would find out. The question
There
was
is no
when
time left.
and whether
There is
Mary
no
would
time
tell her
left.
first,
The
or
soldiers
whether
are
Anna's
coming.
body reading skills
saw
would
them
get
take
there
him.
before
He was
Mary's
marching with the
courage
others.
did.
Anna,
Anna
did
was
you hear
not a
me?
doctor.
Mother, they
She
took
was
him.
not a
They took your
midwife,
son.
though she
Mother,
may have
please
assisted
listen
at
to me.
births,
This isn't
as
what you
most
think.
experienced women in small communities
I can explain
did.
everything. Please just give me a
But
chance.
she was a woman who had lived in a female body for 5
You haven't
decades,
dropped your
who
spindle,
had likely
not ever.
been pregnant herself at
Not
least
anymore.
once, probably
nothing
multiple
to me.
times given first-century birth rates, and who
There was
understood
nothing
the
left to
mechanics
say.
of pregnancy, the way she understood the mechanics of bread-making through direct, repeated physical experience. She knew the signs,
You
not
knew?
from textbooks from her own body,
You
from the
knew all this
bodies of
time?
neighbors
I
she
knew.
had helped, from the
I'm
accumulated wisdom of
We carried the
generations
weight
of women
together, my
who had
dear.
lived in the same small houses and
And we
observed
will
the
keep
same
carrying
patterns.
it, Mother.
The earliest signs of pregnancy,
I didn't want
the
to say
ones
it like
that appear
that.
before any visible
But you had
change to
to,
the
I
body,
understand.
are subtle
I
but
did, I'm
unmistakable to someone who knows what to look for. Fatigue at unusual times, changes in appetite, craving certain foods, rejecting others. The particular pallor that
Mama,
accompanies
I
early
know you,
morning
I
nausea,
think. You are Mary,
a tenderness
aren't
in
you?
the
Yes,
way a
Mama.
woman
It's
touches
me.
her own body
Your daughter.
unconsciously,
The harvest was poor this year.
protective hands
We cannot
drifting
afford
to
to
the
lose the goat.
abdomen in
I know.
idle
We
moments.
must talk to the
In a
neighbors
modern
tomorrow before it is
context,
too late.
these signs might go unnoticed for weeks. The woman experiencing them might not even recognize them herself until a mist period confirmed the pattern.
Working.
But in a one-room house under the
see
daily
the weight you
observation
carry,
of a
my
woman
daughter.
who had lived through the same experience herself, the window of concealment was narrow. Anna would have noticed. Maybe
morning
not on the
comes for
first
bread.
day, maybe
It
not
always
in the
comes.
first week,
Whatever
but
broke
within
last
weeks,
night.
certainly within
This
the first
didn't.
month, something in
flour
Mary's
is running
behavior
low.
would have triggered the pattern
We
recognition
need to
that
fill
mothers
the
in close-quartered
water jar.
households develop to a degree that
morning,
borders
Mary.
on the
barley
uncanny,
is
a
ready.
change in
Thank you.
breathing
Thank
at the
you,
grinding
Mother.
stone, a
Good
moment of
morning.
nausea quickly suppressed, a piece of bread left half-eaten, an unexplained heaviness in the eyelids at midday, a hand resting on the belly that doesn't quite look natural. Any one of these could be nothing. Together to
You are
a
taking
mother's
that?
eye, they were a
Yes.
signal. There are two possible timelines for this conversation.
I must go,
Timeline
Mother.
1 before Mary left for Elizabeth's
know.
house.
May
In
you
this
be
version,
safe.
Mary told Anna, or Anna figured it out
Keep your
within
head
the
high.
first days after the Annunciation, during the brief period before Mary's departure.
I will.
This would explain the speed
You-
of Mary's departure. She told her mother
Mother.
the conversation was difficult and leaving quickly became both a practical
Goodbye,
and
Mother.
emotional necessity. The visit
Go,
to
my
Elizabeth
daughter.
was not just about seeking a sympathetic ear, it was about removing herself from a household where the tension had become unbearable. Timeline 2, after Mary returned
is
from
heavy, but it
Elizabeth's
must
house.
turn.
In
will
this
take
version,
time.
Mary left
I am
without
alone,
telling
but the work
Anna the full
continues. I will
truth,
grind.
perhaps using the cover
Look at her,
story of
walking this
visiting a
time of day.
relative.
No companion.
And the
She's carrying
conversation
something.
happened when she
And
came
heading
home
south.
3 months later, her body now beginning to show the physical changes of early second trimester. In this scenario, Anna discovered the truth not through words but through observation, the mother's eye seeing what the
God
daughter
keep
had
you
tried to
safe.
hide.
Walk
Luke doesn't
well.
tell us which timeline is correct. He records Mary's departure with haste and her return 3 months later. Between those two events, the interior life of the family is a blank page. But here's what we can say with reasonable confidence. Whenever the conversation happened, it happened in that room, or in that courtyard, or at that grinding stone, within those 12 square
Something is
meters,
different.
face to face, mother to
I see
daughter,
it.
in a space where you couldn't even stand up without the other person noticing. What would Mary have said? She had no precedent, no script to follow. No other woman in the history of Israel had ever needed to say to her mother, "I'm pregnant, and the father
The
is not
truth
the
has
man
always
I'm
been here,
betrothed to,"
between
and the
us.
explanation involves an angel.
know.
Every possible version of this conversation
turning.
was a
stop.
disaster in a different direction.
I know.
If
I'm
she told the
trying.
full truth,
We must.
Gabriel, the Holy Spirit,
must
the
have it.
child who would sit on David's throne, she was asking her mother to believe something that no rational person in first century Galilee would believe. Angels visited prophets and patriarchs in the Torah. They did not visit
rhythm,
peasant
Anna.
girls
I
in
am,
Nazareth.
Mary.
Just
The
a little
claim
further.
would sound to Anna's ears like either madness or the most elaborate
needs
excuse for
carding
sexual
before
misconduct
evening.
ever
Yes.
invented. If she told
And
a
the
partial
water is
truth,
low.
I'm
It's
pregnant,
enough.
but it's not what you think, and I can't explain right now.
Are you well,
She
child?
left her mother in a
Yes,
worse
yes,
position
just
than
dizzy.
ignorance. Half
heat.
knowledge with no explanation is torture for a mother. It gives her enough to worry about everything and not enough to understand anything. If she said nothing and let Anna figure it out through the physical signs, through the morning sickness, through the body's slow betrayal, then the conversation would happen on Anna's terms, not Mary's. And a mother who discovers her betrothed daughter is pregnant without being told first would feel not only the shock of the
The water
news,
is cool
but the
today.
additional wound
Yes, it
of
feels
being
good.
excluded from it. Every path
careful,
led to
sister.
pain. The only variable was the type. Whatever Mary said, however she framed it, whatever words she chose, whether she led with the angel or led with the pregnancy, Anna heard one thing above all others. My daughter
Try
is
some
pregnant.
bread, Mary.
The wedding has not happened. The village will know. Everything else,
I'm not
the
hungry
theological
tonight. Not
significance,
again.
the prophetic
recognize
fulfillment,
this.
the angelic
The
visitation
spring,
would
the
have been
nausea,
secondary to that
the
immediate,
bread.
practical,
Annunciation.
devastating
Mary
reality.
departs for Judea.
Because
3 months
Anna
later.
didn't
Did
live
Anna
in
know before Mary
theology.
left?
She
Did Anna
lived in
discover
Nazareth.
after Mary returned?
And in
I have
Nazareth,
something
an
to tell
unwed
you.
pregnant
I'm
daughter
leaving.
was not a mystery to
You
be
must
pondered.
follow your heart,
It was a
Mary.
crisis to
I
be
understand.
survived. Anna knew what this meant for Joachim. She had
It's
watched him
you,
build his
my daughter.
reputation
You are
over
with
decades
child.
at the synagogue, at the village council, in the fields. She had watched him earn the quiet respect of his neighbors through years of honest labor and
I have something to
faithful
tell you before I
observance.
go.
One word,
Mary,
one whisper,
your belly.
and that reputation
You're
would
pregnant.
crumble.
I'm
Not
pregnant.
because of anything he had
Joseph.
done,
Joseph.
but because of what his
it's
daughter
not
appeared to have
yours.
done. Anna knew
Not
what this
yours.
meant for herself. The well was her social world. The women she drew water with every morning, women she had known for decades, women whose children she had helped deliver, women who came to her for advice about cooking and weaving and managing a household. Those women would look at her differently. Not all of them would be cruel. Some would be sympathetic. But sympathy and
Mary,
respect are not the
Mary.
same thing.
Anna,
And the shift from
Is it
respected
time?
mother to pitied mother of a scandal was a
Mother,
shift that didn't
I
reverse.
need to tell you
And
something.
Anna knew with the
I've done something
particular
terrible.
knowing of a woman who had navigated the honor-shame system
is
for
no
50
time
years,
left. There is
that
no time
believing
left.
Mary's explanation,
soldiers are
however
coming.
much she wanted to,
We saw them
was a
take him.
luxury
He
the
was
village
marching
would
with the
not
others.
grant her.
Anna, did you hear
The
me?
village would draw
Mother,
its
they
own
took him. They took your
conclusions,
son.
and
Mother,
no amount
please
of
listen to
mother's
me.
faith
This isn't
could
what you
overwrite
think.
the village's verdict.
I can
The
explain
Gospels never
everything.
mention
Please just
Anna
give me a
again,
chance.
not in Luke, not in Matthew, not in any
You haven't
canonical
dropped your spindle,
text.
not ever.
She simply vanishes
Not
from the
anymore.
biblical record after the
said nothing to me.
genealogies and birth narratives establish their framework.
There was
But she
nothing left
didn't
to say.
vanish from Mary's life. She didn't vanish from that room. She was there every day, every morning at the grinding stone, every evening at the
You
meal,
knew?
every night on the sleeping mat,
You
for
knew
as
all
long
this
as
time?
Mary remained
knew.
in Nazareth.
I'm
And
sorry.
between the moment of
We
learning
carried
the
the weight
truth
together,
and the
my
day
dear.
Mary finally left for Elizabeth's house,
we will
or the
keep
moment
carrying
Mary
it, Mother.
returned from Elizabeth's house,
I didn't wanna
depending
say
on
it
the
like that.
timeline, Anna had to
But you
live
had
with
to,
what
I
she
understand.
knew, in the
I did,
same
I'm
room,
sorry.
at the same grinding stone, sharing the same bread. Did she believe Mary? We don't know. Luke doesn't say. But here's what we can observe. Mary left for Elizabeth's house, and someone allowed her to go.
Mama,
Someone didn't
I
block
know
the
you, I
door.
think.
Someone
You are
didn't lock
Mary,
her
aren't
in.
you? Yes, Mama.
Someone
It's
most
me.
likely, Anna
daughter.
possibly with
The harvest was
Joachim's
poor this year.
involvement,
We
gave
cannot afford
permission,
to lose the
or at
goat.
least
I know.
didn't
We
prevent
must
the
talk to the
departure.
neighbors tomorrow
That
before it is too
permission,
late.
if that's what it was, is the only evidence we have of Anna's response. And it's ambiguous. It could mean Anna
The village
believed
sees
Mary
only a woman
and wanted to
working.
protect her by sending her to Elizabeth.
I see the weight
It could
you carry,
mean
my
Anna
daughter.
didn't believe Mary, but wanted to get her out of the village before the pregnancy became visible. It could mean Anna simply couldn't
morning
face
comes
the
for bread.
situation yet,
It
and
always
the
comes.
departure provided
Whatever
breathing
broke
room
last
for
night.
both of them. We
This
don't
didn't.
know. We're reading a
flour
silence,
is running
and
low.
silences by definition don't tell
We
you
need
what
to
they
fill
contain.
the water jar.
The morning after the hardest conversation
Good
of your
morning,
life,
Mary.
you still
barley
have
is
to
ready.
grind the
Thank you,
grain.
thank you,
That is
Mother.
the brutal democracy
morning.
of subsistence living. There is no grieving day, no processing time, no space between the crisis and the morning's first task. The barley needs grinding, the bread needs baking, the water needs carrying.
You are taking
And
that?
the two women who have to
Yes.
do this work, who have always done it together, face to face in synchronized
go,
rhythm,
Mother.
have to do it again today.
I know.
With whatever
May you be
passed
safe.
between them last night still hanging in the air
your head
between the
high.
grinding stones. Maybe they didn't speak. Maybe the grinding stones sound
will.
was enough, its rhythm
You-
providing a structure that conversation couldn't.
Mother.
Push, pull, push.
Goodbye,
Pull.
Mother.
The grain falling in,
Go,
the
my
flour
daughter.
spreading out, the same motion they had performed 10,000 times before. A ritual so deeply embedded in their bodies that it could continue even
The
when
stone is
everything
heavy, but
else
it
had
must
broken.
turn.
Or
It will
maybe
take
they
time.
did speak.
I am
Maybe
alone, but
Anna
the work
asked a
continues.
practical
I will
question.
grind.
When are you leaving?
Look at
Or
her,
have you
walking this
told
time of
Joseph?
day. No companion.
And Mary
She's carrying
answered,
something.
and the conversation
heading
was as
south.
spare and functional as the room they lived in. Two women dealing with a crisis the way peasant women have always dealt with crises, not with drama, but with logistics. We'll never know. The Gospels left this space
God
blank,
keep you
and the
safe.
blank is the truest
Walk
thing
well.
about it, because the conversations that matter most in families are the ones that nobody writes down. History records the words of kings and generals, treaties, battles, coronations. It does not record the conversations between mothers and daughters in dark rooms in small villages at the edge of empires. But those conversations happened. And sometimes more often than the historians admit, those conversations held more weight than anything written on parchment or carved in stone. Somewhere in Nazareth,
Goodbye, Mother.
in a room you could cross in 4
Go, my
steps,
daughter.
a mother heard something from her daughter that broke every rule she had been taught, every expectation she had built, every assumption she had made about how her
The
daughter's
stone is
life
heavy,
would
but it must turn.
unfold.
It will take time.
We don't know
I am
what she
alone,
said
but the
back.
work continues.
We
I will
don't know
grind.
if she wept or shouted
Look at her,
or sat in
walking this time
silence
of
or
day.
held
No
her daughter
companion. She's
or
carrying
turned away.
And
We
heading
only
south.
know 2 things. Mary left, and her mother didn't stop her. Whatever that means, whether it was belief or love or surrender or the calculation of a woman who saw no better option, it was enough.
God
It
keep
was
you
enough
safe.
to open the door.
Walk well.
It was enough to let her daughter walk through it. It was enough to stand in the courtyard and watch her disappear down the dusty road heading south, carrying a secret and a water jar and nothing else. That's not much. But in a world where everything was at stake and nothing was certain, it was everything.